Hey, welcome back, Rankers. I'm recording from home again this week. I've been working on this bloggers product. This is a digital product for bloggers, an SEO system for bloggers, basically. And so I'm doing it all from here. So I thought, well, I might as well record the show from here as well. So if you hear barking or snoring, neither of those things are from me. They're from my 3 dogs. Because I've been doing this product. Oh, by the way, it's cold in Melbourne at the moment, hence the turtleneck. And but soon we'll be heading to Vegas, where it's hot, apparently. So if you're going to be in Vegas on the 20th or the 21st of August, then come and say hello at the Think Global Retail Conference. Got a booth there, and I think I'm on a panel or 2 as well. So come and check us out there. But before that, we'll be heading to the Pro Blogger event, training event on the Gold Coast. So I'm getting out of the Melbourne cold and going into the heat. Yay! The Pro Blogger event, I'm going up there to talk to bloggers and for this product that we're creating. And I've already spoken to a heap of bloggers in the Pro Blogger Facebook group. And they all seem to have some common issues. And I spoke about some of them last week, but I want to just tell you about one this week, because we've just gone through this exercise with one of the bloggers, Michelle. Hi, Michelle. And it was all about speed. Now, usually as an SEO with Search Console or Webmaster Tools, as you probably know it, there is a little thing called crawl stats under crawl stats, and it tells you, how many pages Google's crawling a day, plus how many kilobytes Google's downloading a day. My puppy is about to destroy my camera. And it's only a 7D, for God's sake. Sorry about that. That was the $400 microphone I was really concerned about. Yes, that's all. Okay. So this, under crawl stats, and this green graph down here is telling us page load times, or time spent downloading a page in milliseconds. Now, we always like to see this under a second, and if we see it under a second or around a second, we think things are usually pretty good. But I hadn't seen this before when I cross-checked it with the Google Page Speed tool, and I'll show you what I mean. So this is the Google Page Speed tool. So that site I was just looking at, that's Keep Calm, Get Organized, that's Michelle's site, and you go, oh, well, the highest it's been over the last 90 days is 1.5 seconds. And this is a measure of the Google bot and how long it takes to grab a page. So it's an average across the site, essentially. And when I go and have a look at page speed, you can see here it says, well, that URL is 27 under 100, that domain name. That's bad, by the way. And the main reason, and it's got a whole heap of things that need to be fixed here, but one of the main reasons that this has got such a low score is because of the size of the images on the site. Now, a lot of you go, well, that's kind of old school, isn't it? We can have big images now because we're all on broadband. Well, yeah. Kind of, yeah, it doesn't take as long to download a 1 meg file as what it used to back in the olden days. However, what if your competitor is equal on every other SEO element, but they're twice as fast? Who do you think Google's going to send them to first? It's going to send them to your competitor because they're faster. It's a better user experience. So the users hate slow sites, right? So especially if you're on a mobile, and if you're in a category like most of us where mobile's pretty much doubling every year, then people aren't going to want to use your site if it's really slow. Now, we've been looking into this recently for ourselves as well, because we've been getting hammered recently, and even late as last night, we had a timeout on the site because we were getting hammered. So we're moving to better hosting. So there's a few things I want to just quickly talk you through about making your site faster, and they're not hard. First thing, get your images small. If you don't use Photoshop or anything like that, you don't use a graphics tool, you're not a graphics person, there's some simple tools out there, and probably one of the easiest and simple ones out there is Kraken.io. So that is K-R-K-E, yeah, there it is, Kraken.io. Now, I've been using just the free version of this, and it's really quite good. So basically, you just upload an image to this, and it compresses it, keeps the quality really well. I mean, I've had reductions in size of 80% for some images that I've been uploading to this, and it keeps it pretty high quality. I think what it's doing for the most part, I haven't looked into the algorithms here, is basically reducing the number of colors in, say, a JPEG, using the JPEG compression. So for me, who I'm not a designer, if I look at that one image against the other image, I can say, yeah, I think there's a bit of difference, but I don't know what. So you might be, if you're in an industry in fashion, you're a retailer, or you're doing something that has to look absolutely beautiful and wonderful, you might think twice about using, say, a tool like this. You might want to go into Photoshop and compress those images till you get it looking really, really nice. But you've got to get the images smaller. The smallest that you can get the image with a standard of quality that you're happy with, that's what you should be going for, as small as possible. I was talking to Michelle at Keep Calm, Get Organised today, and she put up a new page, and it got a 0 out of 100 for the Google Page Speed tool. And that was because she had one image on the page that was 3.5 megabytes or something. So don't do that. The other things that you can be doing is all on the server side. So I would normally, you can look at the Page Speed tool. It will tell you about those things that you're not doing, like here, this leverage, browser caching, minify, JavaScript. I mean, these are all standard things that we will do to a site. But another tool that you can use is Web Page Test. And the reason I like this one is that it gives you a graphical representation, whereas the Google Page Speed Test, because they're a bunch of geeks, they just give you all text. This one gives us a nice graphical representation of what's wrong. And a lot of the server-side stuff, just ask your web developer or whoever's in charge of your hosting to go and fix those things. And they include enabling compression on the web server. And basically all that does is it says, someone over here on their browser says, I want to look at your web page. The web server goes, here's the web page. We're just going to compress all the files and send them across to you. And then at the other end, it decompresses the files. So that's the way the compression stuff works. And it just speeds up the whole environment for the user. Now, things that, I'll just start this test. Now, things that can cause issues when you're trying to fix speed is things like enabling a cache. And a cache basically on the site is basically just says, look, if the user's been here before, just give them the same page if they've been here, in the course of a day or two. So it's nice and quick because they've got all the images and everything already on their browser from the last time that they visited. So that can get you in a little bit of trouble sometimes if you've got users logging in all the time, because you might want to show them something different, and they're just going to get the same stuff that they got last time, which is not what you want. So you've got to be careful with some of these things, and some of the plugins and how they work on the various platforms can also cause problems. So you can see here we haven't set to cache static content, and that's basically the web server telling the browser, you want to cache this image because I'm not going to change this image. Things like background images, things like logos, things that you shouldn't have to download every time you visit the site. Okay, so there's the image side of things that you can compress, but the reason I'm telling you about this is because that metric inside of Search Console, the page load times, it is not looking at images. And it was made abundantly clear to me today when I saw 0 out of 100 on Page Speed Test, and yet the site was loading at, the average load times was around a second. And Google doesn't, at least last time I checked, Google doesn't put in images in its index. And the reason I know that is because if you've ever looked at a cached version of a site, sometimes the images are broken. I'll give you a quick example of what I mean by that. So if I go, I won't even show you because it's going to take too long. The show's getting too long already. But Google doesn't download the images and put them in its database. Okay, so the Search Console figure that you see of around a second is without images. All right, so get those images nice and small. The other thing that you can do that's going to speed up your site is get yourself onto a dedicated IP. So there's a bunch of tools out there to find out how many other websites are also sharing the same IP address as you. And one of the ones I use looks a little bit spammy, but it works. I've tested it. It's called yougetsignal.com. So, for instance, if I was to put keep calm, get organized.com.au on here, just wait for that to do its thing. And this, oh, hang on, I spelled it wrong. And this isn't, no, you in there. This isn't 100% accurate because the way that this tool works is that it looks at links to sites and looks at the IP address. So this one here, it says found 2 domains on this server, and if you use a tool like this, you can go and find out. So 2 domains, that's fine. That's not a big deal. And she's only just changed that today because this morning when I looked at it, it was, I think, 1,000. So I said to her, you better get a dedicated IP. So it looks like Michelle's done that, which is fantastic because that's going to speed things up. Not as much, though, I would add, as speeding up would happen if she compressed a lot of the images on a site. So there's some basic things. Now people ask, and Michelle asked this morning, well, dedicated IP, how much is that going to cost? Well, with her web hosting company, it's extra $4 a month. It's really, really worth it. It's true. For $4 a month, and it allows Google to come in. It's just going to look at your site, no other sites on that IP address. So there are just a few things you can do to really speed things up, and it's going to help enormously. And we'll see you hopefully in Vegas or not at the ProBlogger event on the Gold Coast in Queensland. See you next week. Thanks very much. Bye.